Hello everyone, welcome back to more AEW on TEW 2020. We are here, second week of June in the year 2022. Starting off with our show of Dark, as Ricochet defeats Lucas Fenrir of the Nightmare Family with the diving double knee drop. The Vision defeat the Wu-Ten Clan. Wardlow defeats Josh Fuller. How is Wardlow? Wardlow seems to be back from his ring rust. That's good at least. After this, Scorpio Sky, Alexander Hammerstone, and Priscilla Kelly are seen backstage speaking to a camera. Talk about the legacy that the Bullet Club has, as well as how often they've been disparaged in AEW because of the current run of the Bullet Club. To that end, they know that they need to make sure that they're even more well-known by incorporating some of the competition into their fold, in particular, Tully Blanchard's group. That being Tony Deppen, Davey Boy Smith Jr., and Fred Yehi. Roxy defeats the Bunny. Brian Pillman Jr. defeats Sonny Kiss. The Motor City Machine Guns defeat the Butcher and the Blade. Vikingo then defeats Andrew Everett. And afterwards, Brian Cage rushes out. He picks up Andrew Everett, gets ready to hit a Weapon X on him. Vikingo is like, hey, please don't do that. Interrupts it probably just like, not with a drop kick. I don't think he's that one, you know. Couple of strikes to the back. Cage drops Everett. Vikingo, he's like running the ropes. Cage just massively just decks him. Vikingo's laid out because, well, he just wrestled a full match. And then both of them get hit with Weapon X's as well. Brian Cage stands tall. Fergal Devitt defeats Bronson Steiner. Then Britt Baker hosts an episode of The Waiting Room with Anna Jay and Tay Conti as her special guest. She asks the two, screw that up in writing, about what the supposed death of the Dark Order means for them. They say that they can easily move on from it because they aren't just lackeys to someone. And Anna Jay in particular is a little bit snippy because she says that she's going to be a prominent feature of the women's division to come in the future. Well, Britt Baker is going to be a flash in the pan prospect because she's only relevant because of Adam Cole and because AEW was pretty weak with the women's division when it first started. Britt Baker, she's very thinly veiled hatred, just like, yeah, you're definitely going to be the future of AEW's women's division. Yeah, and then the episode ends. Episode of The Waiting Room, not the episode of Dark. That still has another match with Utami defeating Chris Statlander. Decided to give the women the main event match on Dark, because we move on to Dynamite. Our show of Dynamite begins with Hiromu Takahashi defeating Bruiser Sheridan of the Cult of Cold with the Fisherman's Suplex. Just before hitting his finisher, he does the Adam Cole boom taunt, the point at, the back, and then hits the Fisherman's Suplex, gets the 3 count. He gets up, turns around, super kick immediately. And Cole, he's like, hey, fucking stop that, that's my taunt. He does the boom, crowd goes with it. He picks up Sheridan, and, they head out. They're talking, It's like, alright, no, don't worry about it. He's still yelling at Takahashi, it's my taunt, no one else can do it. And he's just real angry at Takahashi for trying to steal his taunt. I think it's a little bit fitting. Takahashi, ticking time bomb, explodes, all that stuff. After this, Chris Jericho is seen with the Inner Circle in a backstage area. So the Prince of Pro Wrestling wants to go against Le Champion, the immortal Chris Jericho. Well, Fergalicious Definitious, it's going to take a lot in order for me to want that. I mean, when you try to challenge me, the greatest wrestler in the business's history, in all of pro wrestling's history, by insulting the people that I'm leading, that's a pretty stupid thing to do, even for you, but sure, go ahead. Go have Jacob Fatu challenge Acer Samuel and Jake, and watch as the people who have been under the watch of Le Champion, the immortal, the lion, the king of lions himself, Chris Jericho, all these people who have been watched for over a year or more, take you out and take out your stupid attempt to be clinging at fame because you used to be the Bullet Club's founder and you haven't changed since then. So Chris Jericho has accepted Fergal Devitt's challenge and Jacob Fatu's challenge that was made on. You know what I mean. Proud and Powerful then defeat Top Flight. Throughout the course of the match, Proud and Powerful doing moves as homages to the Hardys, a bunch of twists of fate. I'm sure one of them could probably pull off a swanton. They can obviously pull off a senton. Even I could probably pull off a senton. Not a swanton, though. And, you know, they're taking looks at Matt Hardy. He's, of course, at ringside. He manages Top Flight. After the match, he gets into the ring. He has a mic in hand. He says, I guess you learned subtlety for when you were with Jericho. I'm going to guess that what you want is that when I return to in-ring action, you want me and Jeff in a tag team match. I mean, it makes sense. Matt Hardy, the legendary tag team wrestler, finally getting his in-ring return for after a year absence. It's a headline that writes itself. And if you're the team to do it, that's all the more welcome. I mean, I'm sure that facing off against you would be a wonderful way to start off to return to the ring after this year-long absence. Sometimes when I go off script myself, not Matt Hardy, when I go off the script that I wrote literally like 20 minutes ago, it fails. That's an example. After this, a vignette shows of Io Shirai, shows all of her highlights of the time that she's been in AEW, as well as showing highlights of her time in Stardom. Obviously, I would assume can't show anything in NXT just because of, like, copyright things. That's what I would assume. It says almost 4 years to the day was when we last shared the ring together, Mayu. 4 years since the two best women in professional wrestling history laced up their boots at the same time in the same place. Back then, back 4 years ago in 2018, we lit the world on fire in Japan. Now it's time to light the world on fire in America, in front of tens of thousands of people shown on TV all across the world. They will see why I have been voted Women's Wrestler of the Year, why I am considered the best woman in the world, year in, year out, and why I deserve that championship. So yeah, Io, she's got a promo. It's fine. After this, there's a quick cut to backstage where we see that the Boss Bitches are beating down on Ashley Flair, who is in her ring gear. She's preparing for her match that was up next. The Queen's Court rush in to save the Queen when they're interrupted by the debuting Jamie Hayter, joining in with the Boss Bitches. All the members of the Queen's Court are laid out. Jade comes out to Flair's music. The bitches follow after her. So Jamie Hayter has joined the group. Okay. So yes, now we have these four as a stable. Sets up for a potential 8-woman tag. Don't know if I'll go that route, because that match would probably kind of suck given everyone's popularity. But you never know. Jade Cargill then does pick up the win over Layla Hirsch, who does massively outperform her. After this, Paul Heyman storms up to the ramp as the Boss Bitches celebrate. He's angry, and he says, now hold on. That's not how things work around here, Jade. You can't just beat someone down and take their place in a match. There's a lot of paperwork involved with every time that we change a matchup. And before he can continue on, his complaints about how much paperwork he has to do, Jon Moxley's music hits. Brock Lesnar, who presumably was pretty close by, he comes out, he's protecting Heyman. Mox gets into the ring from the crowd. Mox, he has a mic in his hand, of course, and he says that Heyman should just learn to let things play fast and loose. That's just how AEW rolls, how things can happen, how things change day after day, and how the power isn't in the hands of some old man who's never laced up boots himself. It's in the power of the people who actually know what the business is like. And Heyman's like, okay, this is stupid. I've been in wrestling for longer than you have. Yeah, sure, I haven't wrestled ever, but also, like, I've run a promotion before. One of the best promotions out there. And eventually just like, Brock, just go get him. Sends Brock out after him, and that match ends in a draw. Double countout. A little bit weird that I do a double countout. I'm guessing that's why the segment got pretty poor rating. Declining physical ability? Bullshit. But yes, double countout. Following double countout, two are still brawling. Heyman is cheering Brock on. Not Moxley, of course. He demands that Geraldine, who was the ref for the past two matches, restarts the match or he gets fired, and Geraldine's like, match is over. I can't do anything. and they're arguing back and forth. They have had some work together in the past. I think Jerry Lynn. Yeah, no, Jerry Lynn's worked in ECW. That was actually just a coincidence, honestly, that it ended up being Jerry Lynn that was the ref. So I checked who the ref was for this match, and then I went to change the ref for the prior match. It's Jerry Lynn, or to Jerry Lynn. So convenient there. Mox eventually does get an opportunity. He breaks away from Lesnar enough to smash Brock with a chair, but he doesn't beat down anymore afterwards. Brock's down. Moxley, he saws the chair. He leaves the backstage. He's just casually walking. He's ignoring as Paul Heyman is yelling at him. Potentially, this could turn into my attempt at a Stone Cold. Probably not, but potentially. I can see it being possible. Sammy's not supposed to be on screen. As the chaos in the ring is finally setting down, we see a video with Garza sitting in his rose garden. So Fergal, Devin, and Chris Jericho are going to begin butting heads in. Well, Jericho could have had a place in my garden 20 years ago, and Devin, I mean, there are still arguments that could be made. But we all know that that's not the reason that I'm on your screens right now. My musings on my garden, who comes and who goes, it's all very lovely and interesting, but that's not what you're here to hear. What you're here to hear is the words from the TNT champion, the man who has made this show, who has made Dynamite into the best show of professional wrestling. There's one person caught in the crosshairs of that feud, of the butting heads between Jericho and Devin. One person that I actually care about. The only person here that I really care about. Sammy Guevara, the #1 contender to my TNT title. This title that I have held for nearly a year. This title that I took from the hands of Pac, the brutalizer himself, before he went on to become world champion. This title that I have made the most important title, not only just on TV, this most important title in AEW. Sammy, I know you have your obligations to Chris Jericho. I know he's been a mentor to you. I know that he has been someone who's helped you through and let you really break out on the large stage. But you also shouldn't forget that you have other obligations. You have your obligations to the TNT title. Because I know that you can put on a good match, and I know that I want this match. Don't forget those obligations while you're out gallivanting with Chris Jericho. After this, Pac is then seen in his home, still visibly injured from the beatdown last week. This was a pretty low move, Pac, but I can't deny that I respect it in a way. You know what you want, and that's to take on the best in the world. You lost your title to a cowboy, and now you want to go after the biggest fish in the pond. The big fish returning after so long of being gone. But let's think about things for just a moment. You know what it's like to have what you want stripped away from you. What it's like not just having title stripped away from you, not just having your livelihood stripped away from you, what it's like having the joy of pro wrestling itself, the business that you got into, that you became a star into, all the joy that you had for that snapped away in a heartbeat. And I'm gonna be honest, Pac, we're kindred spirits in that way. We both know what it's like to do that. We both know what it's like losing faith, losing hope in pro wrestling. But now we're here, and rather than take my anger out on people that did nothing to cause me losing my love for the sport, I honed my talent. I let the world learn what it was missing with me. I let the people chant my name for 8 years. Sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder. But Pac, you can bring it on whenever you like. I've taken on bigger fish than you. You can just be another notch added on my belt. I was debating whether or not to try to keep working with that fish analogy, but that would be dumb. Now this, the Briscoes are seeing it on their farm. Their farm is still a little bit burnt from when the Hit Squad set it on fire. So it's now some little kids are trying to play champion, ain't they? got a good humor about you. Really expect that you want to get going into something much bigger than you deserve, but I can't lie, we were, but you know what? I can't lie. We can't lie. We were once like you. Fresh-faced little whelps going about and trying to make yourselves all big. It's a bit adorable if you think about it, but you know what? You managed to prove yourselves a little bit recently enough. You got the record, you got the praise from whatever critics, you got all of your in-ring action. You got just about everything that y'all could want, and then some. Y'all can bring your asses up. Y'all can bring your asses up to here. We can kick them. Left, right, center, whatever way you want to do it, all you city folk. We can take you down, no matter what you try. I haven't booked in a while. After this, I just wanted a good match to main event. Kota Ibushi defeat... Well, I wanted a good match because we had a lot of pretty weak matches. What was preventing this? Yeah, I think this is just we have kind of a cap on some of our matches for the most part. After this, Antonio Latanz comes out to the ring. He's wearing a suit. He's looking generally fancy. Gets as face-to-face with Kota as possible because there is a 6-inch height difference between them. Cesaro is a massive man, by the way. And just looks him down. They're speaking. They don't have a mic, but he's just speaking. And eventually, Latanz, he offers a hand. Kota's like, you know what? Sure. Handshake. Show ends with that visual, and we get a 79 rating. Our last two shows did an 80, I believe, but this is still fine. I think we only start getting into problems when we get to, like, the 75s, but still, that's a pretty good show. A lot of people that I wouldn't normally use. Bruiser Sheridan is someone that's really young. Top Flight are young. I'm using a lot of young people, and that's something I really want to build on. Building up new people. Like, yes, obviously I'm going to use people like Kota, because he's really good. I'm going to use those ex-WWE guys, I know, because that's just what I do. I'm still, despite having this series go on for however many episodes this is, I don't actually know. I would imagine this is probably around 100 at this point. I don't know anything about wrestling. I know nothing. I don't know who most of these people are, but still just kind of building a story up, trying to build my own people up. It's fun. It's fun. And, I mean, it's kind of what you want to do with TEW. It's tell your own story, and I feel like I'm enjoying that. But that's kind of a rant that's not really related to anything, as our show of Dynamite ends and we move on to Rampage.